Hello and welcome to Murphy's Garden, and you join me not in Murphy's Garden but at Powis Castle. This is a beautiful garden. I have been here before and it's situated on a slope, so any of you at home who've got a slopey garden, there is masses and masses of inspiration here. So we'll go and explore the terrace gardens and take you right round. It's wonderful, so let's go. Powis Castle is a medieval castle, fortress and grand country house near Welsh Pool in Powis in Wales. It's the seat of the Herbert family, Earls of Powis. The castle is known for its formal gardens and for its interior, the former having been described as the most important and the latter the most magnificent in the country. The castle and the gardens are under the care of the National Trust, and Powis Castle is a Grade 1 listed building, while its gardens have their own Grade 1 listing too. Unfortunately, no photography is allowed on the inside of the castle. However, we made up for that on the outside, and you'll see that there's masses to see in the gardens. It was a hot day, but a few spots of rain when we first arrived, but this quickly dried up and it was a glorious day weather-wise, and we were welcomed on site by the Welsh male voice choir. Yay! So I'm here with my old friend Jill, so come and join us as we explore these beautiful gardens. The gardens at Powis Castle are regarded by many as the most important and historically significant in Wales. Their Grade 1 listing record describing them as the finest Baroque gardens in Britain. They largely survived the 18th century reaction against the formality, which saw many other gardens adopt a more naturalistic style as fashioned by Capability Brown around that time. Have a look at the video we did on Chatsworth House and gardens for examples of his work. Although the exact dating of the gardens at Powis is uncertain, the terraces were hewn from rock at some point between the 1670s and 1705 under the direction of William Wynd and later Adrian Duvell, a French gardener from Rouen. The concept of formal terraces was introduced into Northern Europe from the gardens of 16th century Italy. The gardens originally comprised of 6 terraces descending from the castle and culminating in a water garden. The original water gardens were laid out in the Dutch style and were completed in 1705. The Powis Water Garden lasted just over 100 years and was dismantled in 1809 on the advice of William Ems. Ems, who trained under Capability Brown, swept away the formal parterres and proposed the demolition of the terraces by explosives. Fortunately for us, the Earl rejected his advice regarding the terraces, although the lowest 2 were reduced to earthen banks, but he did permit the replacement of the water garden with the Great Lawn. I think this is a bit of a shame. I would love to have seen the water garden still here. 4 of the terraces remain, the last 2 having been reverted to banks of earth, which are now covered in shrubs. Each is 150 metres in length. The top terrace is planted with a range of yew trees, which is a really distinctive feature of Powis Castle. When originally planted in the 18th century, the yews were clipped into small formal cones or pyramids. However, by the end of the century, they were allowed to grow naturally and become more tree-like, and they developed this very organic shape. And every year they're pruned using a cherry picker. Quite a task, I think you'll agree. So you can see here that this is a really, really steep slope, but by terracing it, it makes the garden more usable. So if you're on a slope, obviously you don't have to probably do it on this scale, but if you are on a slope, don't be deterred by the fact that you think you can't have a garden. You can, but terracing it is definitely the way to go. It makes it more manageable and easier to plant. If you've got a slopey garden, you'll find that you never actually want to be on the slope. You tend to gravitate towards either the top or the bottom of the slope. So by terracing it, you're making your garden more usable. And when we did the garden design series, we discussed how Edward Kemp advised never to try and create a formal garden on a slope, but rather use terracing instead, as is so clearly demonstrated here. And when executed well, it looks so much more interesting than a garden all on one level. So let's go and have a look at the herbaceous borders in more detail. Lovely clump of astrantia and lots of hostas here. This is obviously a shadier part of the garden. some lovely verbascum there, some white verbascum, and that's the name of it there. And then this is some geraniums, and then we've got a clump of aconitum, more hostas, stainless steel that aconitum's called. I think that's a type of nicotiana, I'm not sure, I think it is. And then over here there's some persicaria, and then this is absolutely lovely. This is a beautiful clump of nepeta, and the name of it is just here. It's called Sibirica. It's a lovely nepeta. It stands up really, really well. I've got some Hylotelephium, more hostas, some cosmos and more nicotiana. There it is, that's nicotiana. Some geraniums here, some thylictrum. And all the borders are very well maintained, and they've got hazel sticks as supports, which is something I really need to learn how to do and prove up my game in staking. Lots more big leafed hostas, no sign of slug damage. This is a lovely penstemon. This is it here. The name of it is Digitalis Husker's Red. It's got lovely dark red foliage and is very nice. More thylictrum. And here in this border we can see how cleverly they're working with different hues, different colours. So this penstemon, as well as having the lovely pink flowers, the dark purple foliage is brought out by this neighbouring plant. This is the Hylotelephium. It's got that pink hue to it, and they work really, really well together. More of it here, just contrasting colours, look so good together. And then they're also using different forms. So we've got the fluffiness of the thylictrum, like we talked about in the last video, and then we're contrasting it with the pointiness of this veronicastrum, these pointy fingers, and then they're pointing up to the kind of more blobby-like shapes of the dahlias, and here are the flowering hostas. So it all works really, really well together. And here we can see the three shapes together. So the veronicastrum, the thylictrum, and then echinops, another globular-like shape at the back there. And moving along a bit, the border kind of hots up a little bit. We've got some rose companions just here next to some purple geraniums and some penstemon. And then we move into hostas. Across the path we've got more hostas, and then a zesty froth of Alchemilla mollis and more geraniums. And on the other side of the path are some trees. We've got some acers, lots of acers, and I thought this area would be quite exposed with the wind, but I guess it must be quite sheltered. Here we've got a Magnolia grandiflora, which is in bud. Up the very top there are some buds, looking good, big leaves. And all these trees are planted on the slope. I've just spotted one down here, which is a beautiful Cornus crusa. This is the flowering dogwood, and all in flower at the moment, and it looks absolutely spectacular, really lovely. More trees along here, and here is another Magnolia grandiflora, and this one seems to have been a little bit caught by the frost, so some of the leaves are a little bit black. I'm interested in this because we've got a Magnolia grandiflora, and I don't think it looks terribly healthy at the moment, and I wondered if it was the wind that had damaged it. And a lovely dark leaved sedum there, which looks gorgeous, and more of the nicotiana. And here is this sedum, and this time it's got a label, so this is called sedum xenox, and there's the label there. So it's got beautiful colour to it. Sedum is meant to be called Hylotelephium. I don't know whether that's all of them or whether just some of them. This is clematis, and this is started to go over. It's a yellow clematis. You can see the flowers here, but look how lovely the seed heads are there. Just a feature in their own right, the seed heads. Some persicaria there. And if we just stand back and just look at the overall effect that these plants and these colours and forms are making, we've got the purples and the yellows, and then the lighter kind of airiness of the longer grass on the right hand side, but it just looks really, really good. And on the right hand side are lots of acers, so I think this must be south facing aspect, and then with the addition of the walls I guess it must offer quite a lot of protection from the wind. So because there are some more tender looking plants here, but they seem to be surviving, and not just surviving but thriving. And another sedum, this is the one that I was familiar with as a dark leafed one. This is Sedum Telephium matrona, which is dark but not quite as dark as that Xenox one, which is lovely. Some more dahlias looking good here. And on the other side of the path is this katinus or smoke bush, lovely dark red foliage. And now you're just starting to get a glimpse through the trees at this tantalising view which lies beyond, pulling us onwards. And the drama is really enticing. And we can see from high up how the garden is divided up. And we'll go down and explore that in a while. But first, we'll continue around the terraces. Lovely little seats just tucked in, little places to sit and have a rest. And I love going through the hedges, which we're doing now. And these are very, very hot borders. So everything in here are plants that love full-on sunshine. And I have to pinch myself to remember I'm still in Britain, in Wales, and not in Italy. It feels like I'm on some beautiful Italianate garden, and the weather certainly is making it. So let's explore in a little bit more detail what makes up these hot borders. The plants are quite vivid in colour, so let's have a look what we've got. So to begin with, on the left-hand side, that spiky red flower is the monarda. And then on the right hand side, we've got this Helenium, Sahin's early flower. But I think we've also mixed in with that. We've also actually got some, I think these are calendula rather than the Helenium. I think there's a mixture there. But this is a beautiful Helenium. And I have got that in my own garden. Yeah, I think these are calendula. Then here, this is Moorhem Beauty. I've got that one as well. Then the round is the Echinops. Then we've got some geraniums here. Geranium pretense plenum violaceum, that's a nice one. Then some achillea, and then this beautiful alströmera, isn't that stunning? It just looks like red flames. And next to it we've got the Salvia nemorosa caradonna. Looks good, purple and orange is always a winning combination. And here it is again with Dahlia David Howard, some geraniums, blue geraniums, and lots of calendula. This is a close-up of the monarda. This is a dark red monarda. We did do a video a while back about monarda if you want to know more about it. Some straw flowers at the back there. Some more, and some phlomus. I love phlomus. Look at the shape of these. They look really, really architectural in shape. And this is a plant I hadn't seen before. Looks like big pineapples, and the bees are absolutely loving it. It's covered in bees, and the name of it is here. I will try and pronounce it. It's Centuria macrocephala. And I just love how they've done their staking. It just doesn't detract at all from the planting, and something I definitely need to get better at, because my string and bamboos definitely do detract. These delphiniums look lovely, beautiful colour, more geraniums, more heleniums here. That's the Sahin's early flower again. And then at the back, we've got some sunflowers, helianthus. And here in the front, we've got some hemerocallis, or daylilies, called daylilies because each flower just flowers for one day. But it was interesting to see at the Chelsea Flower Show, there's a new one that's come out. This one's called Cartwheels, by the way, but there's a new one come out, which is called See You Tomorrow, because it's estimated to last up to a week. So that's something quite unusual. These new breeding programs have managed to produce ones that flower for a little bit longer. And some achillea here, providing a different shape of flower head, a more flat-topped flower head. Another big mass of geraniums. Geraniums really good for providing that kind of block of colour. And then some more monarda here, a dahlia, and solidago at the back, which is really good just for a foil in between other more colourful plants. A few heliocryzomes and a big group of sunflowers enjoying the heat of that wall on the back. So we're now on another terrace overlooking the garden, and these beautiful plants are inset, these planters are inset into this brick wall. And time for a photo opportunity. And this is the view back up to the castle. Beautiful buildings, and it really does have that Italian look. And from an angled flight of stone steps, this leads to the Avery Terrace where we are now, and then approaches this beautiful building which is known as the Orangery. And this is the yew hedge, which is very famous at Powis. It used to be cut into a kind of formal structure, but it's now left to grow into this kind of organic shape, which looks really, really good. And just to give you a sort of overhead view of that terrace from above, this is what it looks like from above. It looks gorgeous. So there we are, that's where we're headed. So we could have a little seat and have a rest, but there is a very intriguing staircase leading down to something. So we've got to go and explore and see where that leads to. So the steps lead down to an avenue of yew, tightly clipped yew, little squirrel running around all on his own, dashing about. And the yew is beautiful, beautifully clipped. What I would say about yew is not particularly slow to get to the height you want it, but it is slow to get the look you want, which is what we find. Trying to get that kind of lovely forward-facing growth takes a long, long time, as we are finding, and a lot of clipping to get it looking as good as this. We've still got a way to go with ours, but through the archway you can see this big, vast expanse of grass, and this is where the water garden would have been years ago. And we're right down at the bottom now, and this is the view. This is the best view of all, right back up to the castle. And there's lots to see here. There's roses everywhere growing on these obelisks. This is a beautiful rose. And then there's this lovely archway, vines I think growing over this. And outside this beautiful little cottage is this wildflower meadow mix, so we can see oxeye daisies, poppies, cornflowers. It's just stunning. It looks like a painting. It's just lovely, and the insects are enjoying it every bit as much as we are. And incidentally, this gorgeous half-timbered cottage in the stunning grounds of Powis Castle is called the Bothy, and it is available to rent. It sleeps 6 at a cost of around about £800 for 2 nights in August. And now our priority is to try and find somewhere lovely to eat our picnic, which isn't hard because everywhere's lovely, but we have to make a decision where we're going to settle. And we've got our posh picnic basket, which poor Jill has been lugging around on the trolley because I have the excuse that I'm filming. So she's done most of the wheeling of the basket, but there's plenty of places to sit. So we're here to celebrate our joint 50th, because we've known each other since we were probably about 12, and we thought it'd be nice to get together and have a bit of a joint birthday celebration, and this couldn't be a nicer setting for that. Here we are, the perfect spot. So photo taken, and we're quite hungry, so let's tuck into our delicious picnic. Restored and refueled, we're now heading round the rose garden, and this rose I recognise. This looks to me like Desdemona because we've got this in our own garden back home in our rose parterre. Let's just have a look. The label is here. Yes, it is Rosa Desdemona. I recognise her anywhere because she opens a blush pink, beautiful blush pink colour, and then the rose, as it ages, it turns quite white, quite pure white, and it has a lovely, lovely smell. And some alliums there, and also some antirrhinums. These look like apple blossom antirrhinums, and this rose looks very familiar. This looks to me as if it's Olivia rose, because we've got this one as well, and it's a beautiful rose. Let's just see, the label is over here. Yes, it is Olivia Rose Austin, and over here this one is called Prosperity. That looks a nice one too. Yeah, there it is, Prosperity. And what I can't capture on film is the smell, and particularly on this really hot day, the smell is just really intense. It's lovely. Some of the roses have gone over. It's been hard keeping up with deadheading as it's been so hot. Yeah, the flowers just don't seem to be lasting very long. I'm finding I'm deadheading, and then the day later all needs deadheaded again. It's quite difficult in this heat, and I think they are suffering a little bit. This is Alchemilla mollis, which is looking good, just dotted in amongst the roses, just gives that kind of fluffiness and that softness. But the roses, the leaves look really healthy. This is Cornelia, and this looked lovely. This looked like a peony flower, but it's actually appears to be poppy foliage, so it's obviously a poppy, and it's full of ruffles. It's lovely. And look at these beautiful cosmos. They're like cupcakes. And I really must grow some different types of cosmos. We saw out at Chelsea the Cosmos Society showing you all the different types of cosmos you can get. So I'll try some different ones next year. And lots more nice things to see here. We've got some delphiniums in dark purple and cornflower blue. Just more to see. Hollyhocks at the back there. The garden passed through the rest of the 19th century with no major changes until it found a new enthusiast in Lady Violet, wife of the 4th Earl of Powis. Her intention was to make the garden at Powis one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful, in England and Wales. Violet worked on the garden for 18 years, enriching the planting on the terraces and adding new varieties of shrubs and perennials, but her biggest contribution was to relocate the kitchen gardens, the glass houses, to a new position out of sight of the castle, and on its footprint she created the picturesque formal garden with a croquet lawn, country cottage style flower borders and meticulously trimmed fruit trees. It is still one of the garden's highlights. And this is the fountain garden, and you can just see the little cottage in the background is Lady Violet's tea room, where you can go and enjoy a cup of tea and a restorative piece of cake ready to climb back up the hill. And incidentally, there is a little bus that can take you back up again if you're struggling with all the walking. And adjacent to the fountain garden sit a pair of elaborate wrought iron gates, which Lady Violet commissioned as a birthday gift for her husband George, the 4th Earl of Powis. And this, I think, concludes our lovely and very memorable day at Powis. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Absolutely beautiful place. If you ever get the chance to visit, I strongly recommend it. So see you in the next video. Bye for now.